There's kind of a famous stigma that actresses play the daughter and then disappear until they're old enough to play the mother. Do you think with like people like Greta Gerwig and Patty Jenkinson, do you think that's enough to kind of shift that stigma, or do you think things like inclusion waivers need to be mandatory for studios?
I would hope that that naturally happens. Maybe, I mean, people are really, really pushing that, definitely. Like, I've honestly been very lucky since I started work and when I was a kid, that like the very first director I worked with on a film was a woman, and I continued to work with female directors since I've started. So that hasn't been an unusual thing for me. And all of those women, basically there just needs to be more of them, more female directors and writers, so that more so than anything, that like what we were saying about the whole period thing, that they can just reflect other people's stories and they can represent a little bit more. And to be honest, I don't know why anyone wouldn't want that, because it just means when you go to the cinema, you've got more of a choice. It's not just going to be like a bunch of action films about some boys or even a bunch of action films about some girls, but like there's a little bit of everything. I do think it will start to change. I actually do think it has started to change already, thankfully, like even since I was 18, where there were only roles like that. There were only roles for a daughter or a sister or a girlfriend, and it was just a bit boring, to be honest, especially if, you know, like I had been lucky enough to be playing really, really great roles up until that point that were just really interesting, and then they just stopped. And I don't think that's the case as much anymore. I still think there's too few of them, but I think we're heading in the right direction, definitely. And I think what's been happening over the last couple of years too, with people like Greta and shows like Big Little Lies and Girls, honestly, TV to me has always been more progressive than film anyway. When you think of like Roseanne and like Laurie Metcalf and all these girls just like drinking a beer and having a chat, they've always been really wonderful at that. But I think there's a sense of community between women in film now that they're just, it wasn't encouraged before, and it really is now. So, and I think from that will come really great work.
But seeing, you mentioned Big Little Lies there, I think it's also actresses realising that this was the historical landscape, and somebody like Reese Witherspoon setting up Hello Sunshine, and then partnering with organisations and film productions and different actors, whether it's Kerry Washington, and making these roles happen that they weren't.
Because that's what it was, is that like, there was a role for like one actress. There was the role every year for one female actor, and that was it. And so no wonder there was competition, because if everyone in Google was fighting for one position, you'd be like, get out of the way, you know, you would.
Absolutely. And then the challenges that come about as we talk about intersectionality as a society. What does that mean if you're not a straight, white, able-bodied, middle-class woman, you know, and how do we find that diversity that exists in audiences on screen?